Welcome. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how we can boost retention and LTV with Klaviyo analytics, or with this Klaviyo analysis that I'm going to show you. Now, to preface, the point of this video is a lot of people think that just by using Klaviyo with its core functionality, that they're inherently going to boost their retention, their lifetime value, and become more profitable. But it's really not the case. Like, if you're using Klaviyo to just the limits of its core functionality, yes, you would probably be moving the needle here more than if you weren't using Klaviyo, but there's no real way to know how much, and there's no real way to really get in the nitty gritty and unlock some bottlenecks you might be having in your LTV. And what do I mean by bottlenecks in your LTV? Well, where do your customers most likely drop off? Like, essentially, the biggest way for a brand who's doing 7, 8, or 9 figures per year to boost their LTV is to identify the points of friction. Like, most people only placing one order. Most people, are there a portion of people that's getting to 4 orders and then not getting to 7 orders, which is the next tier. All of this will sort of make sense as I dive into this analysis a bit more. But essentially, unlocking your LTV with actual data analytics is going to be one of the best ways to become more profitable and actually make the most of the data available to you in your retention marketing channels like Klaviyo. Now, some of you might be already using more advanced softwares like Klaviyo CRM or Lifetimely to get a full picture of your customer cohorts, but here's an easy way you can do it just with data available to you inside Klaviyo. Now, this isn't going to be perfect high-level insights, and this isn't going to give you essentially all the answers that you need, but it's going to be a really, really solid analysis into your lifetime value. So let's unpack it. Firstly, why is lifetime value important? Well, pretty easy one. Right now, the cost of ads is extremely high. Like, ads is more competitive than it's ever been. The advertising landscape is only getting more competitive and more expensive. So we want to mitigate the cost of ads. And how can you mitigate the cost of ads? By increasing the amount of money that customer spends with you, because you've already incurred the acquisition cost. So say, for example, CAC is $50. Right now, customers spend $150 on average in their lifetime. Your ROI on that customer is 3 to 1, which is solid, and you should continue to scale your brand at that level. But what if you could take your LTV to $160? This is just really basic notes. You've made an extra $10 profit per customer. If you have 10,000 customers, for example, just for argument's sake, that's an extra $100,000 in profit. So if over time you take your LTV from $150 to $160 by using advanced analytics and coming up with some really good strategies, you can essentially make an extra $100,000 in profit per 10,000 customers who come to your site. Now, if you have 10,000 customers over the course of a year, an extra $100,000 in your pocket each year in pure profit is absolutely insane. Now, these numbers are just hypothetical, just for argument's sake. For a lot of stores, taking LTV from $150 to $160 very quickly is going to be difficult, especially across all 10,000 customers. Realistically, you might be able to influence 500 or 1,000 of these customers to spend the extra $10 on average. So, but essentially what we want to do is identify where these opportunities are, because the next thing is this analysis is going to let you understand the split breakdown of these 10,000 customers. Because, for example, you might have, say, 10,000 customers. 700 of these might have only spent $150 and placed one order on average. But you might have 200 of them who have placed 3 orders and spent $500. And then you might have 100 really loyal customers, and these people have placed 6 orders and spent $1,000. Now, the reason I give these numbers is because most stores are actually going to see a split like this. 70% of your customers have probably only ordered once. 20% of your customers are probably going to be in another tier where they've probably placed 3 orders and they've spent $500 and they're way more profitable than these people. But you might have 100 super loyal customers who have placed 6 orders and spent $1,000, double the everyone else in the company, like double the people below them. So what we essentially want to do is work out things we can do at each one of these tiers. So your analysis will probably look something like this, and this just follows the Pareto principle being the 80-20 rule. For most e-com brands, 80% of their profit comes from 20% of their customers. And this follows suite here. What you will see in this analysis, and I guarantee this on pretty much every data set you run in the average e-com store, is that about 40 to 50% or 30 to 50% of revenue comes from the top 10% of customers. About 60% of revenue will come from the top 20% of customers. But what that usually translates to is about 80% of profit comes from this top 20% of customers. So even though they're only giving you 60% of your revenue, they're probably giving you 80% of your profit just because of their spending behaviors and their spending patterns. They often have higher average order value, which means that you're making more profit because, you know, the costs are dispersed across shipping and it's more economical for you to place, for people to place these higher orders. They usually don't rely on discounts or sale periods. They buy products at full price. When you compare this to the people who have only placed one order, this is going to be riddled with people who place low average order value orders and who usually only shop during sale periods. So you're actually less profitable on these people as well than you are on these people. So 80% of your profit comes from the 20% of your customers who love you. Anyway, so that's sort of the importance. This is why you need to be focusing on LTV. And this is what you're sort of going to find from your customer split, which alludes me to the importance of this analysis, which is if you can identify this and identify where the actual bottlenecks are, you can make some really good retention decisions and some really good segmenting decisions that are going to help you move the needle here. Now, how do you get this data? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Klaviyo and you're going to build a segment of everyone who has placed an order with you at least once over all time. From there, you're going to export this segment by clicking Manage Segment, Export. You're going to download a CSV with these three properties: their email, which will automatically be clicked, and then you want to go and get their historic customer lifetime value and their historic number of orders. So that is what you want to do. If you're a big store, this data is going to take ages to download. I ran this analysis on a store with 700,000 customers just yesterday, and it literally took me 1 hour to download and get this data into a Google Sheet. But for most stores, if you have somewhere between 10 to 100,000 customers, it should be a little bit quicker for you. So let's dive into an analysis because I've already done this and I have an example here. So what I've done is I've essentially imported all this data into Google Sheets. Now, I've hidden the email column. In column A, you're going to have the emails, but I've hidden this just for the purposes of privacy because this is real data from a store. Now, these are the columns I've set up. So we've got historic customer lifetime value. We've got the historic numbers of orders. So these are the ones you've just pulled from Klaviyo, real data. Then I'm going to filter this and sort it by highest to lowest in terms of the historic customer lifetime value. So I've essentially just sorted by this field here and made it descending. So the highest order, the best customer at the top, worst customer at the bottom. Then I've added these columns: percentage of revenue, their rank, the percentile they fall in, and then the decile. Now to do this, I've essentially also made a cell down here, which is the total revenue generated, which is just a sum of, let me see if I can pull this up a little more for you. Bear with me. There we go. So the sum of all revenue generated, which is just a sum of column B, and then a count of how many customers in total. So for this brand, they've done, I don't even know what that is in terms of a number. I think it's $24 million in revenue in their lifetime, and they've had 68,000 customers. So you need these two cells as reference cells in your calculations. Now, if we go back to the top, we have these cells here. Now, how do we calculate these? So percentage of revenue, you don't actually really need this one for the calculation, but it is going to be important. I think it's just important to see. It's actually a cool visual breakdown. So you calculate this by just taking their customer lifetime value and dividing it by the total amount of revenue your company has generated, which is the cell we did down the bottom. Your rank, This is essentially just the row they're in minus 1. This will update as you filter it. So when I sorted this by descending order, it now has a rank of everyone of 1 through till 68,000. Now, the next thing, we need to calculate a percentile. So a percentile is essentially where does this person fall into out of 100. So 0% being the best customer, 100% being the worst customer. We essentially divide their rank by the total amount of customers. Simple. Then your decile. Essentially what a decile is, if you don't know, is it groups people into equal groups of 10. So it takes your top 10% of customers, your top 20% of customers, your top 30, your top 40, your top 50, your top 60, and so on. And it just groups them into equal groups of 10. Now, this isn't by spend, it's by amount of customers. So if you have 68,000 customers, each decile is going to contain 6,800 customers. Now, this is all the data. So you essentially format the data like this, and now you have a data set where you have all of your customers grouped by groups of 10, essentially. Let me just reframe this for you. There we go. So you have all your customers grouped by groups of 10. If you scroll down, you can see this value assigned next to them. Now we have all the data that we need. It's super simple. From here, you can run an analysis. The way we do that is by creating a pivot table. So you can essentially click Insert, Pivot Table. What this will do is spit out this data here on the right. Now, how do we get insights from this data, or how do we get the pivot table to look like this? You can essentially edit. Don't know if you can see this. So I've edited, and this is what I've inserted. So I've put a row, which is just the decile. Then I've added 3 columns. Historic customer lifetime value, which is summarized by median. The reason we choose median instead of average is because there's going to be outliers in the data, and we don't really want the outliers to affect our decisions. Like there's going to be one customer who has spent an insane amount of money, and there's might be one customer who spent an insanely low amount of money, but we just want a median value here. Historic numbers of orders, historic number of orders. We also want to judge this by median, and then percentage of revenue. And that's just going to be good for a visual breakdown here. So now we've sort of made our pivot table. This is what you get. So let's zoom this in. Now, we have our 10 groups of customers sorted by the top 10, the top 20, the top 30, the top 40, the top 50, the top 60, the top 70, top 80, top 90, top 100. And this is all sort of exclusive. So this is your 10% group. The next is your 10 to 20% group. The next is your 20 to 30, and so on. Now, pay attention to the values here. Let's go through it. Column B is the median of the historic customer lifetime value, with an average down the bottom, or a total median of these numbers down the bottom. What you can see is that across our whole customer cohort, the median historic customer lifetime value is about $197, and the average is about $313, but the median here being about $197. Obviously, the average is absolutely tanked by the outliers here in the top 10%. The historic number of orders on median is only about 1. The average is 1.8, but overwhelming majority of our customers have placed 1 order, and the average again would be affected by the outliers and the fact that the top 10% have placed 5 orders. Now, the sum of revenue, this is really interesting. Pay attention to what I said before, or think back to what I said before. 40% of this company's revenue has come from the top 10% of customers. 55% have come from the top 20%, and 65% of the revenue has come from the top 30%. All the way to the point where their top 50% of customers generate 81% of their revenue. So overwhelming majority of their revenue is only coming from half of their customers. The other half is only generating 20% of their revenue. So there's a few insights that we can leverage from here, and we sort of want to unpack the tiers a little bit here. So what we can see in the top 10% of people is that they, by median, have spent $1,071 with this company. So their top 10% of customers, or their best 6,800 customers, because if you remember, they have 68,000 customers, have spent $1,000, which is insane. Because if you look at the bottom 10%, their bottom 6,800 customers have only spent about $89, $90. You could go as far to say their bottom 13,000 customers have only on average spent about $90, $93 each. Pretty low, pretty massive difference. So essentially what we want to do here is identify the bottlenecks, which is what I was alluding to at the start. Where do we see the biggest drop-offs in our LTV? For starters, this is a great point to start. The top 20% of customers on median have spent $540, but the top 10% have spent $1,070. That is almost a 2x. It's almost a 2x jump between people who are a top 20% customer and people who are a top 10% customer. So straight away you can identify that there is a massive opportunity in between making your top 20% customers a top 10% customers. And realistically, although this is the biggest jump in financial value and one of the bigger opportunities for the business, you could argue it's probably the easiest to bridge the gap between people who have already placed 3 orders and people who have placed 5 orders, compared to trying to get someone from even 1 order to 2 orders. And the reason for that is, if you look at this data, these people have already spent $540 with you. They clearly love your products. They're clearly invested in the brand. These people like you. They very much like you. These are loyal customers, and a lot of them will naturally ascend to this top tier just over the course of their relationship. Whereas these people, they don't necessarily love you or like you, especially this bottom sort of third, or this bottom 30% of people here. Like, they've placed 1 order with you. Who knows how long ago it was? Like, who knows if they're ever going to purchase with you again? Maybe they had a bad experience. They're in no guarantee to place a second order. And the reason you can sort of infer that is because 50% of customers have only ordered once. So why do we think that these people are going to all of a sudden jump up and place a second order? Whereas these people have already shown common spending habits with us. They already like our products. They've already come back for more. They're familiar with the brand. If they saw us on the street, they'd know us. If they saw our marketing, they'd know us. They'd be familiar with all our influencers, faces of the brand, everything. Getting them from 3 to 5, for a lot of them, like I said, is a matter of time, and the rest of them, we just need to nurture them correctly. So you sort of have 3 tiers here, or 3 areas of opportunity, and you could infer trillions of insights from sort of data sets like this. And then if you even pulled more advanced data down the line, you'd be able to get even further. But with what's readily available to us in Klaviyo, this is what we can do as well. Let's take a screenshot of this. Let's go to ChatGPT and say, this is an analysis of my customer cohorts. Please identify areas of opportunity to improve LTV and provide suggestions to do this. Then give some context for the brand. We don't want to run discounts. Now let's ChatGPT do its thing. It's obviously going to break down what we already know and what we can already infer ourselves. So the top 20 or the top 10% are the best. Decile 20 is the best group. Decile 30 to 100 has drastically lower LTVs. Areas of opportunity. Mid-tier deciles. These customers have shown some engagement, 1 to 2 orders, but haven't reached top-tier LTV levels. They're primed for deeper relationship building. Very low LTV and minimal order count from these deciles. These users likely churn early. However, small improvements in retention here can have significant compounding effects. Now, strategies to improve LTV without using discounts. Post-purchase education, and use case reinforcement. So we want to increase the product stickiness and perceived value. Suggestion, you can create a multi-email post-purchase flow that educates on product benefits, shows how to get the most out of their purchase, shares customer testimonials and transformations. So for an average e-com brand, that would be a fantastic idea. The first thing you should go and do once you get this analysis is like, well, overwhelming amount of our customers only order once. A massive portion of these people also spend low amounts of money. How do we get these people shopping a second time? Well, we want to become super sticky in their lives. We want them to love us. We want them to have a great experience. That's step 1. So email flows are going to help you do that by communicating the right thing. And that sort of alludes to what I was saying at the start about, naturally, by using the core functions of Klaviyo, you will be moving the LTV slightly. Like, you will be having positive effects on your customer retention and LTV, because a good post-purchase flow is just a core simple function of Klaviyo that every store should be doing. Now, exclusive perks for returning customers. You can increase repeat purchase rate without discounts. You can offer perks like early access to new products, first dibs on limited editions, loyalty tiers. This is a great suggestion. Essentially, another thing we want to do is how can we get people who have placed 2 times so this is sort of another segment here. How can we get people who have placed 2 times to place 3 times, or 3 orders rather? Let's sort of break these into groups. So this is sort of a breakdown of our customers, just color coded. How can we get people who have placed 2 orders to place a 3rd order? And how can we get people who have placed a 3rd order to get to this tier where they're placing 5 orders? And then, of course, what I said before, how can we just get these first customers to come back a second time, or even just a portion of these first customers to come back a second time? Like it says, loyalty tiers. Like, you could come up with some good loyalty tiers, especially for this top half, but there is a balance here you need to strike when you're sort of creating a loyalty program. Brands like Mecca and stuff do this phenomenally. There's plenty of brands who do this really well, but essentially you could map out to customers who have placed 3 orders and say, look, in 2 orders time, you're going to unlock XYZ benefit, and you can communicate it really clearly to them. There's a downside to that. If you sort of tie their VIP status to the amount of orders and you let them know, people will game the system. People will go and they can start placing low average order value orders. What you could do is tie it to spend, and you could tell customers, well, once you hit $1,000 and spend with us, you're going to unlock XYZ benefits. For some brands like consumables, where it's a necessity, people will like that. But say you're in the fashion or activewear space, if you tell someone like, oh, you've spent $1,000 with us, they'll, as a non-necessity product, that might be a negative touch point where they go, shit, really? If I actually spend $1,000 with this brand, I need to tighten up my spending, which is not what you want to do. For customers who are at this 2nd order, you can say, you're 1 order away from unlocking XYZ, or you can incite them by saying, get free express shipping on your next order, just give them some sort of benefit that's going to get them across the line. And you're going to have to experiment with this. Like, you're not going to, what I wouldn't do is sit here, use this to build some crazy, like, stupid thing, which takes you months to build out and perfect and then roll it out. You want to test different things on these segments. Like, you want to test it and find what resonates, and then use that to build out your system, which I'll get to. Product bundles and AOV. We can increase AOV and LTV by introducing value stacked bundles. Like, we do want to avoid the fact that 30% of our customers have sort of spent $100 or less in their life. Like how can we mitigate that? Because that is super low value orders, especially from 30% of our customers. How can we ensure that all of these one-time purchases fall into a boat where they're at least spending that $150 or more, like these first-time customers? Like, what's the difference between these first-time customers and these first-time customers? Well, these ones have obviously spent more money, but why? And how can we sort of mitigate the fact that these people don't hit those levels when they first shop with us? Personalized re-engagement campaigns. We can reactivate one-time buyers, recommend products based on their purchase, ask for feedback, share people also bought. Like, this is all just going to be sort of standard email campaigns, and standard email flows are going to be important to just move move the needle on getting these people to the next bridge. Community-driven marketing. Yeah, like all that stuff's going to work. Retention-focused email campaigns. Yeah, like all these are like pretty good sort of insights here. Test offers that aren't price-based, so gift with purchase, free shipping thresholds, limited time bundles. This is really solid. Like, these insights here are really solid. Free shipping thresholds, that's great. What if we come to this and say, well, for example, I know that this brand's free shipping threshold is like $200. Clearly, what's this? Like, so say 50% of people who have placed one order, overwhelming majority of them have placed an order less than $200. So that $200 free shipping threshold isn't really working. Like, only one of these customers, or one portion of the people who have spent one orders or have placed one order, are hitting that $200 threshold. So is the $200 free shipping threshold working? Well, not really. Like, you'd kind of want to skew this a little more in that favor. So maybe it warrants dropping the free shipping threshold down to 175. If we drop it to 175, will we get these people across the line? If we drop it to 190, will we get these people and these people across the line? Who knows? We need to experiment with that and see how the data plays out. You could also maybe look at a free express shipping threshold or something like that. But the first thing I would be looking at is, well, what if we made the free shipping threshold $190, and then we can get these customers to spend an extra $2, and these customers to spend an extra $20. Now, you need to then weigh up the economics and see if that makes sense. If we can get $2 more out of customers who have spent, these 6,800 customers, that's good. If we can get $20 out of this 6,800 customers, that's phenomenal. And realistically, that's one extra product for both of these people. So they're probably spending an extra $80 each. So an extra $80 each across 13,000 customers. That would have been an extra $1 million for this brand. Pretty crazy needle mover. Like a free shipping threshold. Obviously, not everyone is going to dive into it. This is making assumptions. Not all 13,000 of those customers would have taken advantage of that free shipping threshold. But what if 1,300, what if 10% of people took advantage of that free shipping threshold because we lowered it? An extra $104,000 in revenue. Would that cover the additional shipping costs we need to incur? Who knows? You need to crunch those numbers with the brand and see if that makes sense, and if that would make sense. And then you got to test it and see what the additional uptake is. Limited time bundles could be really good for people on the front end, especially maybe from ads. Like I hazard a guess, a lot of these people are probably coming from ads. You could run a cohort analysis. You could pull a Klaviyo report, identify the customers who have sort of fallen into this, or identify who these portions of customers are, try identify which source they originated from. Then you could sort of pick up on the traffic, and it could be like, well, customers that are coming from Facebook ads on average are spending the lowest amount of money. Maybe we should redirect these people to landing pages that have limited time bundles, which are higher AOV for us. That could be a good insight. Now, suggested next steps here, you want to just map out journeys, etc. So my suggested next steps is do this. Group customers into how many orders they've placed like this, and then try to come up with strategies. You could even group these customers who have placed one order, but at a significantly lower LTV, into their own little cohort here, which is, these are the shittest customers in the company. I just want to color code this a little better as well. Nice. So now we've sort of got a nice color coded rank here. So we've got 5 portions. What's this? 5 portions of customers here. We can come up with probably 5 strategies that we want to work on as a company. The first one, how can we get these people to spend $150 instead of the sort of $90 to $100 they're spending? Well, free shipping thresholds, bundles on the front end, landing pages with different bundles from ads. Can experiment with all those things. Post-purchase upsells. Potentially you can weave a post-purchase upsell or a cart upsell onto the website and see if we can just raise the average order value here. If we can get the average order value to $105 for this portion of customers, an extra, $6 on average between these people. If you can get $6 between what's sort of 6,800 times 3, call it 20,000 customers, that would have been an extra $120,000 profit from the brand from these people. So if you do that over the course of a year, and that's a massive needle mover, $120 extra $1,000 in the back pocket, very nice. So that's sort of one segment. Experiment with bundles. Experiment with post-purchase upsells. This is probably what I would recommend here. For this segment, how do we get these people to place a second order? Well, the post-purchase upsells is also going to apply here, because if you can get a post-purchase upsell or maybe a post-fulfillment upsell, you're going to move the needle. These people have already spent more money, so they're slightly warmer. So what we want to do is maybe be less aggressive with the bundles here. Like, these guys are already spending money, and then focus on the longevity of this customer a little more. So post-fulfillment upsells, free shipping threshold to just move the LTV a little higher. What else could we do? Let's ask ChatGPT. How can we get these customers to place a second order? So these customers are over 16% of your revenue. LTVs are relatively strong. So they're suggesting they see value in your product. They're just not being nudged effectively to come back. Low hanging fruit, nudge one-time buyers to place a second order. So Win back flows, yes, so that's going to be a core email function that we should hopefully be doing anyway. Email and SMS and web personalization, next best product recommendation. We could definitely experiment with personalized recommendations. Milestone-based progression. Gamify the brand journey a little bit. You've unlocked tier 1. You could definitely do that. You could definitely send sort of post-purchase flows to these people and say like, look, you're now a tier 1 member with us. Like, you're going to get XYZ benefit. To get to tier 2, you know, keep coming back and you know, you'll unlock these things in the future. Super simple. Social proof retargeting, maybe. Founder-led plain text emails, yes. Email flow mini campaign, yes. What you need to realize is that you then want to break these customers down into the frequency of their order, or recency of their order. So out of these people, who has placed an order in the last 6 months? If the people who have placed an order in the last, say, 3 to 6 months, you still want to give them time to naturally ascend, and you just want to nurture them with like good content across channels and keep them in the loop of what's coming. For people who have placed an order more than 6 months ago, you might want to experiment with retargeting campaigns of sorts. So let's call this, I'm just going to break this into columns to make it a bit easier. Tier 2 retargeting campaigns for lapsed spenders. Because there is a difference between people who are in that tier who have ordered recently and haven't ordered recently. Now, tier 3. How do we want to get people who have placed 2 orders to 3 orders? That's going to be things like special benefit after their second order, like free shipping on their next order, early access. So you just want to make them feel special as well. Like, it doesn't need to be anything like tangible, but you could just be like, look, on our next drop, you're going to get early access. What else? Like a really good post-purchase experience. For these people who have placed a second order, you might want to throw in something like a handwritten note or direct mail for people who have placed a second order, and really make them feel welcome. Like, you know, you're now part of the brand. You know, you've come back a second time. Thanks for trusting us. Like, founder, you want to really roll out some more personal touch points here and make them feel like they're part of something. Maybe you could offer them a GWP with their next purchase. Trying not to spend too long on each tier here. Now, tier 4, how do we get these people to place 5 orders? Let's ask ChatGPT. So we definitely want to retain and nurture these top buyers. Top 1% club, loyalty milestones. Like, this is an interesting shout, like the loyalty milestones, but like I said, you want to avoid people gamifying the system. Like, you don't want people who are getting to 3 orders finding out like, oh, hey, if you get to 5 orders, you're going to unlock all this, and then they just go and start placing low LTV orders. Because if you actually look at how much this person has placed per order, it's about $181, which is pretty solid. Like, if you look at this, they're probably in among one of the higher AOVs, especially when across 3 orders. Very solid. Obviously, the best customers all around are these customers who have spent over $200 per order 5 times. Like, that's an insane AOV. Like, they're just the best customers far and beyond. So loyalty milestones, invite only stuff. That's really cool. I really like the FOMO stuff here. What you can also do is make next tier look insane with FOMO. So what you can do for customers who have ordered 3 times is say, you're so close to becoming a top 1%er, and just leave it at that. And then you really make an effort to show off what the top 1% are getting so often. So, like, you know, maybe customer only invite events, customer only invite only drops, like special meet and greets, like special party invitations, like whatever it may be, to make people really feel exclusive. And then to make people who've ordered 3 times be like, yo, I really want to get there. Ask for input, product naming votes. This could be really cool. UGC incentive program, not too bad. Referral engine, it's a bit cheap. like a referral engine for most brands would be really, really solid. Like, but for this brand in particular, where it's a bit more exclusive, and like I said, they don't want to run discounts, it's a bit cheap. But for most brands, you could run some sort of referral engine. Proactive CX and personal touches. This is exactly what I was saying. Surprise handwritten notes, unexpected upgrades. We notice it's your fourth order. Thank you. Email or text. Unexpected upgrades, like an added product sample. Really good for this tier. Surprise handwritten notes. Really good for this tier. You sort of want to treat these people like VIPs, but leave them hanging a little bit. You don't want to like give them the full treatment just yet. They're probably not quite there. Now, tier 5, you just want to focus on full nurturing. Like all you want to do with these people in the top tier is just nurture. Like, yes, we can get more out of those people, but like we should just be focusing on nurturing. And naturally they will continue to buy. But the other thing you want to do is identify churn risks. And you want to do this across pretty much the whole funnel. People who make it to these top 3 tiers, we really want to identify who is at risk of churning and then come up with ways to, I guess, remarket to these people effectively. Like if someone enters this top tier, but they're at risk of churning, like they now haven't placed an order in over 6 months, like we need to be hitting these people. That is vital. So you can do that. You can crunch a segment in Klaviyo who has spent over $1,000 or who has spent over $600 to sort of be a top 10% customer and who hasn't placed an order in 3 to 6 months. Bang, there's sort of your churn risks. All right, how do we reactivate these people? What can we send them? Some sort of direct mail, surprise handwritten note, unexpected upgrade. We can just mail something to their house, whatever we need to do. These are high value customers. Remember, they've driven a massive amount of our profit. So if we can reactivate them, we want to do that. So we really need to like come up with the surprise effect here and make these people feel really cared for. Now, this next tier, you probably don't need to go as above and beyond as the people in the top tier, but we still want to identify churn risks and find ways to reactivate these people. So, I mean, long story short, across all these tiers, tier 1, we want to experiment with different bundles, experiment with post-purchase upsells, landing pages, just to try boost AOV there. Tier 2, we want to experiment with post-fulfillment upsells once they've received their order, free shipping thresholds, personalized recommendations, retargeting campaigns for lapsed spenders. So for these ones, these are people who have placed one order, but they were high AOV purchases. So we want to be a bit more nicer to them. A lot of them are going to ascend naturally. So we just want to experiment with a few different things there. Tier 3, they've now placed their second order. Maybe we want to give them a special benefit. Free shipping on their next order, early access to the next drop or just the next drop, a handwritten note saying thank you for joining the, becoming a second orderer, founder personalized emails, gift with purchase for their next purchase. And then also we want to identify churn risks. Who placed a second order but never quite placed a third order, and how can we reactivate them? Tier 4, focus on the loyalty milestones. Let them know that they're going to become a top 1%er, whatever that is. Invite only events, product pages, product launches, whatever it may be. We also want to sort of create a bit of FOMO for these people and show them that they're nearly one of our best customers, and then show benefits that these people get. Unexpected upgrades, like you can add a random free product or a random sample to their next order, surprise handwritten notes, and we also want to identify and mitigate the churn risk here. Tier 5, this is just full nurturing mode. These people are our best customers. While they're active, we just want to make them feel cared for. If they become at risk of churning, we do want to try reactivate them. Surprise effect. If someone is in this sort of tier and they become at risk of churning, like we want to ship them something, like in my opinion, like you want to send them a free gift, you want to send them a surprise package, you want to send them a crazy fucking discount code to get their next order for free, whatever it may be. So yeah, all in all, this is a pretty good example of an analysis that any store can do using data at their disposal, using Klaviyo data, AI analysis, and then what you know about your customers yourselves. And it's going to be the most effective way to boost retention and LTV with just a simple analysis. And if you think about what I just said in this video, I guarantee that most people who are using Klaviyo aren't using it to the depth of this whatsoever. Most people who are using Klaviyo probably aren't actually thinking about their retention on the grand scheme of things or on the grand scale. They're probably just using campaigns, using flows, and sort of hoping they retain customers with natural touch points. And like I said, it will work. A lot of the suggestions with this LTV improvement is just to have better core flows, have good post-purchase flows, have win-back flows. A lot of them are going to move the needle here. But if you really want to think about personalized experiences, and when you're operating at a scale of 7, 8, 9 figures, and this portion of customers has made you a stupid amount of money, like you do really need to be thinking about how you can ascend more people into higher tiers and how you can retain people in these top tiers. So I hope this video helped. Subscribe to my channel for more insights like this. We're really going to be diving into more advanced retention stuff over the coming months, as I think it's a massive opportunity. But yeah, hope you found some value out of this video. Leave a comment if there's anything you want to ask, or if there's any suggestions you want me to go over in the next videos. Cheers.